Today's guest is an inspiring journey through the world of combat sports journalism. I am joined by Dylan Rush of Rush MMA, also the producer for Pound podcast, working with Henry Cejudo, Dirty Boxing official, UFC's embedded, and he shares how he turned heartbreak and hustle in a career that's breaking barriers and reshaping the way MMA stories are being told. From private jets with legends to sacrifices most dare wouldn't make, this conversation with Dylan is packed with passion, grit, and life lessons. I enjoyed this podcast. This is one of my favorite ones I've done in a while. And if you're enjoying it too, give me a subscription. Please share this podcast as Dylan has an amazing story that needs to be told. Now, everyone, Dylan Rush, Rush MMA, let's get it. Welcome back to Fight Capital, where we enter the ring of combat sports business. I'm your host, Ryan Rapaport. Today, I am excited to be joined by the one and only Dylan Rush. Dylan is a dynamic MMA journalist and storyteller who has quickly made a name for himself in the combat sports world as a reporter for Cage Side Press and the producer for Henry Cejudo's projects like the Pound podcast with Henry and Kamaru Usman. He brings passion, originality, and humor to his work, creating content that resonates with the athletes and fans alike. Born and raised in New York City, now by way of Arizona, Dylan is committed to growing the MMA through compelling narratives and authentic engagement with the sport's diverse and interesting community. Thanks for being here today, Rush. How are you and where are you joining from?
I'm joining from Phoenix, Arizona. I'm doing so great. Thank you so much for having me, man. It means a lot. Thanks for taking the time to do this. And I just want to say real quick, when you were introducing me just now, emotions just flood to my head. I'm not even a guy that gets deep a lot, but oh my gosh, the amount of times I've introduced someone. First of all, thank you so much. What a great introduction. Bro, fuck. You actually just got me a little emotional because just thinking about you introducing me. I don't know, how I started this thing, doing this a couple years ago, and to be sitting here now with these belts behind me and having you introduce me and saying those kind words, it means a lot, bro. I appreciate it.
No, man, they are totally warranted, and obviously there you are reporting from the cave on the set of Pound for Pound. And man, it's just, it's so cool just to see you continuing to elevate and grow yourself. But man, I said you've not been doing this for that long. I guess in the grand scheme of things, you haven't been. But tell me a little bit about what initially drew you to getting into MMA journalism, and how did your passion for sports evolve into this career of storytelling and reporting?
So I'll start from the start, honestly. So I've always wanted to be a sports journalist. Like any kid that likes sports, you want to be a professional athlete. But when you're 4'10", 75 pounds going into high school like I was, you realize quickly that's not going to happen. So as long as I can remember, even 7 years old, I kind of was a realist and knew I wasn't going to be a professional athlete. I was always very small, and I wanted to be a sports journalist. By the time I was 12 years old, I was telling everyone I want to be a sports journalist, right? And so I was kind of a troubled teen. I was awful in high school. I didn't want to go to college, but my dad didn't go to college, and he said I didn't have the choice. I had to go to college. My mom went to Arizona State, right? So I'm someone that I grew up middle class, but we didn't travel at all. I had been on a plane once in my life before touring ASU, and when I went there when I was 17, I only toured it because my mom went there, and they had a top 5 sports journalism program in the country, so it made sense. I toured it. I loved it. And I didn't tour another school after that. I was I'm coming here. I'm going to the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism, baby. So at this point, I wasn't planning on MMA at all. I was a UFC fan in middle school, kind of fell out of touch with it, got back into it maybe around when I was going to college, 2019. And 2 years into college, I had been working at Chick-fil-A for 2 years. I had done nothing outside the classroom. I had pretty good grades. I kind of got my shit together somehow. But I wasn't doing anything journalistically other than going to class. I was just a student. And we had to do this graduate program my second semester of my junior year, where you got to pick a sport or a team and just cover them. So everyone and their mom wanted to cover the Suns, the Diamondbacks, the why am I blinking? I don't know, Coyotes, whatever. And I didn't want to do that because I loved all those sports. I really do know. I'm not to brag, but my whole life I've known way more about baseball, basketball, football, hockey, even soccer than I did about MMA. Not even close. And I always wanted to cover those sports, but I realized very soon into that program that all the kids that were covering the Diamondbacks and the Suns, they weren't getting to interview the players. They weren't getting to go to the games, really. They weren't getting to do much other than just, write about the results of the games. And I didn't want to be just a guy that's like, the Suns beat the Cavaliers tonight, 96 and 94. Like, I wanted to have some personality, have some, like a little bit of my own flair, whatever you want to call it. So I found MMA, bro. Like, my friend, I was in New York, like a week before this program started, and my friend was like, you should do MMA. Like, you love the UFC. Like, why not? And I hadn't even been thinking about it. I remember we were sitting at a Nets versus Grizzlies game. My friend Lee Minaga, he was like, you should do MMA. I was like, yo, I should do MMA. I started thinking about it, and then I decided to do it. 2 weeks into that program, I created the Instagram Rush MMA 11, started just covering the local Arizona MMA scene. Like 3 days after that, there was a Bellator event in Arizona. Fate will have it. Like, it was so crazy. And the Suns Arena was 4 blocks away from my school. They haven't even been back to Arizona since then. There was 4 Arizona fighters on the card: Benson Henderson, Ryan Bader, Sully Colley, and Henry Corrales. And 3 out of the 4 of them were huge underdogs. All of them won 4-0. It made for a perfect story for me to write for my little publication. And after that night at that Bellator event, Habib was there, Dustin Poirier was there. I met them. I was backstage. I was living it up. You know how it is at these events. It's pretty fun. And after that night, I was like, this is what I'm doing forever. This was the best night of my life.
Man, that's a wild story. And going back to what you were saying, and like being with the backstage with the fighters and all the people who just want to go and report on, I can look at the box scores, right, and tell you exactly what happened. But what's that extra deeper aspect of the story as well? And one of the things I've always appreciated about you, whether it's your being there in person for your interviews or the interviews that I've listened to of yours when you're interviewing these stars, and not just the stars, I mean everyone across the board, but just how everyone is ingratiated to you and the level and strength of the questions you ask. With all these like narratives that you're helping create and shape, how do you approach having these questions and really kind of building those stories in a field that's really quite crowded with all the similar crap that's always being played?
Yeah, well, that's what it is. It comes down to that like these fighters and athletes in general, and even just star celebrities, they're all asked the same questions at the same events over and over. It gets boring, and there's a reason fighters don't like media. Not only does it get boring, but some media members, they try to get fighters to slip up, say the wrong thing, make them look bad, and that's something that I would never do. Of course, I'm sure you wouldn't either. I'm sure any good, honest journalist wouldn't do that. So, but approaching interviews in general, I always say the same thing to anybody that ever asks me like for advice for interviews. It's like, bro, just view it as a conversation. Forget that there's a camera pointed at me right now. Forget the lights. Forget anything. Forget even that the guy that you're talking to is famous, and just have a conversation with a fellow human being, and it just happens to be on camera. Make it just that, bro, conversation. It's not like question 1, this. Okay, question 2, this. It's like, all right, you ask a question, they say something, you're like, oh, this. And you just have a conversation, bro, just like you would with your friend on the street or just about anyone. So like, don't overthink it. And yeah, I would say just try to make everybody, like, as a journalist, you got to be honest. You got to report on the truth. And sometimes the truth isn't too great, but like, if you can make someone look good, if you can promote someone, if you can uplift someone, if you can make someone feel good about themselves, I try to make every fighter feel like they're the only fighter I've ever spoke to, and that they're way cooler than I am, and that they have such a cool job. And I want fighters to close the laptop, close their phone, and feel like, yo, that was fun. Yo, I would do that again. Like, wow, I am cool. Wow, I am living the dream. Like, I always try to tell people, like, you were probably dreaming about this stuff 10 years ago. Look what you're doing now. Like, win, lose, or draw, you're fighting for Bellator. Win, lose, or draw, you're fighting for the PFL, bro. You're on ESPN. Like, enjoy it. So, yeah, just try to be a positive influence on everyone you come across.
People who get recognition out there, you're one of them, right? From the fighter standpoint, people calling you out, oh, that's Rush. Oh, and even like when you're the guy, when you're, walking near John Jones and one of the guys from his camp catches you. And I think that's because of what you built for yourself from a credibility standpoint. But what's the biggest lesson you've learned with building that credibility and the relationships in the MMA media community?
You could say the biggest thing when it comes to credibility is never break someone's trust. Like, the amount of things fighters have told me, even yesterday with the stuff coming out about Bellator and PFL, of course, like, those who are in tune with it probably knew before all this stuff came out, but like, the amount of stuff fighters said to me yesterday, man, that I would never share a word with anybody, the amount of fights fighters tell me, and I don't go and break it. I don't try to act like real Kevin K and break news that isn't there. Like, you don't do that. You don't spread misinformation, because it fucks with the fighters, the fans, the managers, the promotions. Like, I mean, it just comes back to being a positive influence instead of a negative influence. Like you want to, I want to uplift this community. I want to help promote positive change any way I can, even with the small platform I have. That's always the hope and the goal is to help grow the sport that I love, which is mixed martial arts. And it's not about growing me or growing MMA media or Cage Side Press or Dirty Boxing or Henry Cejudo TV. It's about growing the sport and growing the community and making the community honestly like a less toxic place. Like I'm going a little bit off topic, but like, Twitter's a cesspool. I don't even use Twitter. I've never used Twitter since I started. It's always been just Instagram, nothing. I don't even use YouTube. But like, I think there's so much negativity in the community. The comment sections I have to read about Henry every day. And it's not just Henry, it's everybody. It's great people. The stuff people are saying about Neil Magny, one of the nicest, most great human beings that I've met in the last 3 years since I started. And when Ian Gary comes out and says that, and then you got Ian Gary fans saying a bunch of bullshit about a great human being, a freaking military veteran, like it's ridiculous. So I try to promote positivity with my interviews, with just doing my thing. I don't know. And that comes down to, it's the same thing with credibility. It's like these fighters know me. They know after 2 years what I'm about. They know that I'm about, like, my shit is wholesome, bro. like it's not like I'll never put a fighter down. I don't go on Twitter bashing fighters, making fun of people for getting knocked out, anything like that. And like, if you want to do that and say, I'm not a journalist, I'm an MMA personality, so I could be a fucking dickhead, then you go ahead and you do that. But that's not who I am, and that's not who I ever will be.
You hit the nail on the head in terms of some of those criticisms out there. And I think a lot of people who are kind of looking from the outside in don't necessarily see and hear the things that we hear. We're paying attention. We're reading the comments just because we're picking, trying to see what we can get out of there, right? But I think that speaks to some of the challenges of the sport. And as a journalist, trying to put your head above and be a loud voice and be someone of worth, it's not easy. And that's where you get all that bullshit that people are spewing out there, and the lies or the misinformation. But what would you say are some of the most significant challenges you face in balancing that passion that you have with the realities of the business side of being a journalist and a storyteller?
I have struggled to balance just about everything, man. Like the work-life balance, the passion. I mean, yeah, you got to balance the passion with like sometimes I see fighters, especially early on, and I was like, oh my God, that's this guy. Oh my God, I want to do this. I want to do that. Like I was in UFC Embedded, right? New York, UFC 309, John Jones versus Stipe. And I'm standing right next to John Jones for, here and there, not like all week, but like here and there and here and there. And I didn't say a word to him. I didn't introduce myself. I didn't say a word to him because I'm a production assistant. I might be Dana White's most lowest level employee in the entire promotion. I'm not going to speak out of turn. I'm there to fulfill my role, my small role on the team. So like there's a time and a place for stuff like that. And I'm there for Dirty Boxing. I'm there as a cameraman filming. And, sometimes, people are going to go up and ask John Jones to take a photo because like it's an exception, it's the GOAT, whatever. But like, I'm not going to be that guy, bro, because, he has already so many people coming up to him. And as someone that, to be what I want to be, which is like you said, a credible guy, like a guy that like wants to, like, it's not about like taking photos of John Jones and saying, oh my God, like, look, and I'm not, bro, I've taken photos of so many people. I take selfies. I don't do that whole like journalistic high ground, like whatever, like morals and whatnot. Like I believe there are morals and principles and stuff, but like if you want to take a photo with a fighter, you could take a photo with a fighter. I remember one time a fighter asked me for a photo, and I posted the photo with the fighter, and I had someone comment like, you're like not a real journalist, like you're a clown, like asking fighters for photos. And it's like, again, this goes against probably some journalistic principles, what they taught me, probably the first rule of journalism school, but like these fighters are my friends, bro. Like I tried to hide it for so long, and I tried to act like they weren't, because that's what I was taught in school, ingrained into me, like you can't be friends with the athletes. Like, nah, I'm friends with all these guys, man. Like, some of my best friends in the world, like Mads Burnell is one of my best friends in the world. Nicholas Mota, I talk to these guys all the time. Shane Burgos yesterday, Aaron Jeffrey. Like, I'll finish that thought, is that you can be friends with the fighters as long as you're unbiased and as long as you report on the sport and you're a good guy. I got Henry calling me real quick. Yo, Henry, I'm doing a podcast in the studio.
All right, cool.
All right, see you. Sorry about that.
No, you're all good, brother, man.
I wonder how he's gonna feel about me using this. I didn't even tell him I'm about to use your background.
Who cares? Dude, that's beautiful, though. That's the thing. Like, you got to use it. It's the whole point of it, right? Well, I mean, on that note, though, tell me, how did you team up with Henry? I mean, I think I know a little bit about the story, obviously, with everything going out in Denmark, but now you're producing pound for pound. You got everything going on with Dirty Boxing. Talk to me a little bit about how you ended up with Henry.
So I'll go back to the Denmark thing. So I met him like a couple times throughout the years. Like 4 days after I created my Instagram, ASU, my college, hosted an MMA night where they had a bunch of fighters come. Henry was one of them. I took a photo with him. He has no recollection. I showed him the photo. He was like, "Oh, you're cool." He didn't give a shit. But we never like really formally I never formally introduced myself until in Denmark. I was there like tasked to make an embedded. Embedded's like a 30-man, 50-man team, and I'm tasked to make my own, right, by myself, film, edit, whatever. So I'm filming Henry and stuff, and the first day, like, we don't really even speak much, but like I'm with him all day. And then the second day, we're on a helicopter, and it's just me, Henry Cejudo, Mark Madsen, and the pilot in the helicopter to a castle, to the biggest castle in the country of Denmark. And Henry just like starts interviewing me. He's in the front of the whatever it's called of the helicopter. I'm in the back, and he's just like over the it's so loud, but we have the mics on, right? And he's just like, "So Dylan, like, tell me a little bit about yourself. Like, what do you do?" I tell him, I'm from New York. I went to ASU. He's like, "Oh, ASU." I was like, "Yeah, I'm cover the Arizona MMA scene. I'm a journalist." I even told him like I've been helping LFA with matchmaking because at the time I was doing a lot of that, and just a couple different things. And by the end of the conversation, he talked about how he might have an opening for me. Like by the end of like the first conversation we've basically ever had, and I said to him word for word, and he holds me to it. Like he fucking when I try to say like, "Yo, I think it might be time for a raise," he says to me, he's like, "You said to me on the helicopter, you'll work twice as hard for half as much." And that's what I said, and that's what I've been doing. So so after that, so then we get back from Denmark, I get to New York, and yeah, bro, he calls me at midnight the night that I get back, and he's just like, well, he texted me on Instagram, follows me, and he's like, "What's your phone number?" I send it to him. He calls me within 30 seconds. He says, "I need you in Arizona by 9 a.m. It's like 1 a.m. in New York. I'm like, "What the hell are you talking about, Henry Cejudo?" Like, and so I said no. My mom was like, "No, you have to see your grandpa tomorrow." I had work in the sign shop in Queens. They're like, "You can't do it." So I said no. He calls me back like, "This is 3 a.m. now. 3 a.m. New York time. I don't even know what I'm still doing awake." And he's just like, "You sure, bro? Like, this job might not be because I said to him, maybe after embedded in Utah for 307. He's like, "I don't think this job will be there by then, bro. Like, I need you to come here. Do you want this?" I'm like, "I want it." He's like, "Show me you want it." So I flew out there. I just hung up the phone, packed the bag. My parents were asleep.
Sorry, Grandpa.
Sorry, Grandpa. I left a note on the bed that said "once in a lifetime," so that my parents would know I didn't get abducted or anything. They know that I took the once in a lifetime opportunity. I flew out there, and we just had spent 2 days together. We had a good time, and then he actually got me a flight to Embedded to do the Utah thing. I went back home for like 2-3 days. Then I went back. Then I moved to Arizona, and I've been in Arizona ever since. I've been traveling a lot, but I did get to go home for UFC 309 Embedded. But been with Henry ever since, bro. It happened so fast.
There was an opportunity, you went and grabbed it. You even had that moment too where you're like, "Oh, this is too insane of an opportunity. I know this is what I want, but I'm not willing to go and do it." And then you heard the second guess. I mean, he could have just been like, "Oh, okay," and never talked to you again. But you went and grabbed that. You said, "Okay, peace, I'm out." I mean, there's this idea of work-life balance, but if you're doing something that you love, does it really work? Are you just living life? I mean, is there such thing as work-life balance for you?
Hey, everyone. Quick favor to ask. Did you know that nearly 80% of the people tuning in right now aren't subscribed yet? That subscribe button down below is what powers me every week to keep putting out these podcasts. Big shout out and thank you to everyone that's been supporting me for this. I couldn't do it without you. If you're enjoying the content, please subscribe below. It means the world to me. And for everyone supporting me, thank you so much. Now, back to the show.
No. Not at all. And there never really has been. I've never worked so hard as I have in the last 40 days that I've been doing this stuff with Henry. Not even close. Like, I thought I worked hard before. Like, God, give me my old life back. Not actually, but, I've been stressful. I got acne right here. I got more acne than I've had since I was like 15 years old just from stress. I barely sleep. I don't eat right. But guess what? I love it. This is the life I chose, and I can't complain, right? This is what I wanted. When I started my Instagram, I would have never expected in 3 years to be doing the dirty boxing thing now, UFC Embedded, pound for pound, Henry Cejudo, all these different things. Even if I had done one, if you told me back then that I would be doing one of these things, I would be like, get the hell out of here, bro. So I can't complain. But the thing about journalism, like I'm sure you could share this this thought, and so can most of our friends, our journalist friends, is that there's no 9 to 5. It's not a 9 to 5 job. Whether you're in a cubicle, whether you're at home, whether you're wherever you are, it's like, for me, I'll speak for myself, it's like, even when I leave Henry, this is all I'm thinking about. This is the bad part of it. Is like when I'm at a bar, when I'm with friends, this is all I'm thinking about. Like I've literally lost friends over how much I care about this stuff, how passionate I am, how I'm on my phone too much. It's like It is what it is. And I want to say real quick, I've been giving a bunch of long-winded answers, but like I have thick skin. Like I was always short growing up, like I mentioned. So like people tried to make fun of me. I could never care less. Like I would just like either be vindictive and like throw it back at them harder, or just like laugh with them. Like I never cared when people would like say anything about me. But when people insult, and it doesn't happen often. I'm not like a fighter. I don't have a bunch of haters or anything. I'm not gonna lie. But like there have been times where people have like insulted like what I do, like whether it be like people insulting MMA media as a whole, saying like you're an MMA journalist, that sounds stupid, the sport is small, you're never going to make money, whether it be that, or just like I've had people be like in Bellator San Diego in September, someone said to me that my interview was terrible. Like it was just a random like person saying that Aaron Jeffrey looked uninterested and that it was like a terrible interview. And for me, like I'm sitting there and I know Aaron, and I talked to Aaron about this, and he was like, bro, what is he talking about? And I know Aaron, that's just
Pretty sure
how
he was
is.
concussed.
Like, he's just like a
pretty
stoic
sure he was
guy.
concussed.
Yeah, but like for some reason, when he insulted my interview, I got so fucking pissed off. Like I was like beyond myself. Like whenever someone like tries to insult my MMA stuff, like don't get me wrong, like I could take a joke, but like when someone truly insults like I put too much work into this, time, effort, blood, sweat, and tears. The last 2 years of college, I didn't go to parties with my friends. I sat home on Saturday nights covering UFC events and PFL events and traveling to casinos in Arizona and Vegas to cover the fight game and try to grow my career. And that's kind of the point of college, right? To find a career. So I don't regret any of it, but like I put too much time, so much sacrifice. Like again, I wanted to say like I'm not a fighter. Like I know fighters make so many sacrifices. They're a lot cooler than us, Ryan. But like I make sacrifices too, man. You know what I'm saying? Like my dad has been sick for a lot of the time that I've been doing this stuff. And like he was in a hospital for like most of September 2023. He's been in and out of the hospital for a while now. And he was in the hospital for like a month. He gets out on October 2nd, his birthday, and I get to spend, after like a month of not seeing him, I literally get to spend like about 10 minutes with him before I say hi, whatever. And he's feeling better than ever. He's out of the hospital. He's feeling so good. And I'm like, yo, I got to go to Bellator San Diego. I got to go to Bellator 300 and cover it. And by the time I came back home, my dad's back in the hospital. You know what I'm saying? Like even leaving to come work for Henry. It's like my family's not doing great. Like my grandpa, I remember I was in the hospital with him the day before I left, and he was like, I wish you didn't have to leave. Like that shit fucking tore at me, bro. Like am I prioritizing the wrong things? Like my family needs me right now, and I'm here in Arizona again, and I'm private jets with Henry Cejudo. And
I just hope you know that just exudes from you, the hard work, the hustle. I honestly, man, I don't know. I know very few people out there, even at the upper echelon of the sport, who are putting as much into this as you are. And man, you're a young dude. I mean, you're out there hustling. This is, if there's any time to do it, this is the time. You never, I mean, I'm 38. Like I had a whole life.
You don't look
like,
a day over
tech.
28.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate that. But you never know, man. You never know like what the next day is going to give you. And if you're not out there working for what you enjoy and what you believe in, I mean, you know how many, you're 23, right? 23, 24?
Yeah, I just turned 23, yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you know how many 23-year-olds are out there doing some bullshit job that is uninteresting, boring, saddening, like just like sitting there being like lost, and here you are out there hustling, doing it. Man, it just everything, never mind just leaving, but all that passion you're pouring into this, I feel it. Everyone in the community feels it, the athletes feel it, and that's why everyone gravitates towards you and wants to see you successful. But man, I know the boss was calling you. You probably got to get back out there. I'm sure he's asking something from you. But what's next for Dylan Rush MMA? And are there any specific projects or goals that you're working on to leave your mark on that combat sports media?
So I'm going to answer that question real quick. I just want to go back to the last thing I said, that for anybody out there, there's just like one piece of advice I have, even though it's unsolicited. But for anybody out there that's going through something or has something on their mind, whether it's like they're going through a breakup, like I didn't even mention the fact that like I really got into this because I was going through a breakup. Like I was like so in love, and I broke up with this girl and immediately regretted it. And like 4 months go by, I'm so upset. And that's when I started Rush MMA, because I was fucking like, I want to get out of Arizona. I was begging my parents, don't make me go back to college. Like I didn't want to like anything anymore. And I make this Instagram, and I just let it take over my mind, and I become a slave to the game, bro. And it really helped me. Like my grandma passed away last November, and like the day after, I went to DC to cover the PFL championships. And some people were like, my friends were like, you shouldn't do that. Even my family. And I was like, I'm not going to be sitting at home upset. I'm gonna go be surrounded by people I love, fighters that are great, PR team that's great, and try to enjoy myself. And of course, I was sitting there like sad. You know, my grandma helped raise me, but my advice, long story short, is like, sometimes you gotta just like train your mind and do things to just take your mind out of things, and don't just sit and sulk. Even if you feel lost, like you said, there's so many 23-year-olds out there that are so lost and are working bullshit jobs and stuff. When you get off that bullshit job, you go home and like you try to make something and try to use your free time to the best of your ability to like change that. Basically try to change that. Like, don't like, I don't know. My therapist might completely disagree with this advice, like probably. But like I say, don't let yourself be sad, bro. Like when I'm sad, I try to be happy. And when I'm sad, you don't put on sad music when you're sad and like feel bad for yourself. You try to get happy. You get out there. You get after it. And I feel like if more people felt that way and more people acted that way, the world would be a better place, and there would be less depression out there, and there would be more people chasing their dreams, chasing the bag.
Man, that's beautiful.
And can I answer your question real quick? What's coming next? Honestly, I don't even know, Ryan. I'm taking it day by day. Like every single day is different. It's so stressful. Pound for pound has been awesome. Working with Henry's awesome. I don't even know if I'm supposed to say this out loud, but like, you know how Henry portrays himself out there. Henry is one of the best people. He might be the best person I've met in the combat sports industry. He is such a great man, great father. Like, I can't say enough good things about him. He's also one of the best fighters of all time. Top 10 UFC history, one of the best combat sports athletes of all time. I think I got to say, since I work for him, he's the #1. He is the combat sports GOAT. That stuff is great. Dirty Boxing, amazing first event. That is about to take off. I guarantee it. I've never been so confident about anything in my life. And then the UFC embedded stuff has been really, really awesome. I play a very small role in the team. I'm not out there filming John Jones. Some people are like, yo, did you film this clip? I'm like, I didn't film anything. I'm so happy and grateful, and I feel the support from guys like you and from my peers, journalists, fighters, even some fans out there. So I'm so grateful, and I feel like I'm doing what I was put on this earth to do, and I feel like I'm achieving. I'm fulfilling my dreams. There's no better feeling than hard work paying off.
Before I even met you in person, I was a fan. Even more so now, just seeing what you're doing out there, dude. So proud of you. Don't stop, man. You're really making a difference out there, and I know the athletes appreciate you. I'm almost positive Henry appreciates you, because I know how much you're hustling. But man, so thank you for doing this. Loved every minute of this. Honestly, like I was, as I'm thinking this, I'm like, this might be my favorite interview I've done. And you know, you're going to be like 104, I believe. I'll be dropping this tomorrow, but man, just honestly, like, can't wait to see what you do next. Thanks for doing this, man. And I hope everyone listens to this, because it really is the epitome of what hard work and, you know, what chasing your dreams can lead to, man. So can't wait to see what you do next, brother.
I see that karate combat hat, man. I'm working for Dirty Boxing now. I feel like maybe we're supposed to be enemies, Ryan, but I want to say real quick to clear the air, Ryan Rapaport, you're one of my favorite people, whether it be fan, friend, journalist, fighter. You're one of my favorite people I've met in this industry. I truly mean that. You're great at what you do, like very unique at what you do. What you do is awesome, but just like outside of your work is amazing, but outside of your work, you're an even better person. And I'm so happy you moved to Vegas. I'm so happy that you're following your dreams too. And I really do believe it's going to lead to success that are that's beyond what you're imagining right now. I'm sure that you believe you're going to do X, Y, and Z. You're going to do even more than that, buddy. So keep doing what you're doing, because you're on the right path. And I really appreciate you taking the time and doing this thing with me. At Russia MMA 11 on Instagram. I don't really use Twitter or TikTok or YouTube or Facebook. Email is hard to remember. It's russiama11@gmail.com. And yeah, but check me out on Instagram, russiama 11.
Appreciate you, brother, man. Have a great rest of the night. Don't kill yourself working too hard, and I can't wait to see what you do next, man.
Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate it, bro.